It's funny you say that because we had a couple years where there's areas that were okay, areas that were sparse. We have a lot of perennials, that come up and volunteer every year with the crops we grow. And this year they're just going gangbusters. It's like
Yeah,
crazy. I don't know if it's because of the electroculture we put in last year, but everything's like really full and ahead of schedule. Or maybe it was the eclipse.
yeah. I don't know. It's amazing what's happening though. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Um, it's interesting too, because we got a lot of rain late into winter, and then it went right to summer. And it's on our, what, sixth day now, Bear, of 90, hitting into the 90s.
Yep.
It's like we skipped spring altogether. It's really interesting. The weather is definitely being messed with, but also, I agree, Cathy, like, and I'm going to hit record in a second. We're feeling it. We're feeling this, and I'm excited for this talk today because we're feeling the strong resonance of awakening happening all around us. And I know we can affect the weather too with our consciousness, and the more that we can get in tune with that, the better. And that, of course, directly affects how our crops grow and everything. So I'm excited for this. I'm going to hit record and fire the talk up. Here we go, guys.
Sweet.
And thanks again, Cathy, for being with us today. We're honored. And everybody in the chat, thumbs
Absolutely.
up. We're good. We're good. Okay. Sweet. Well, okay. Someone tell me we're good. Okay. Yeah, we're live. Okay. Here we go. And boom, we're back for another episode of AlphaCast. I'm Mike Winner, and I'm here as always with the debonair Dr. Bear Paul Lando, coming to you live and direct from the great state of Jefferson, where freedom still reigns supreme, up here on the beautiful azure waters of the Smith River. We were just talking, actually opened up last week, how we went from winter to summer, and it's continuing, even though looks like we will be getting some spring weather and maybe 5 days, Bear, but it's been continual day 90-degree
Don't
weather
say
days.
rain.
Yeah, rain would be nice. And I'll be putting some work into bringing some rain here. But been phenomenal, like insane growth at the farm. I know I've been weed whacking our property every day. It's been like a bountiful explosion of nature since the winter, the long, 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 long winter. So excited to be seeing everybody at Music and Sky. And God, it's almost a month away, or a little under 5 weeks away, Bear. June 20th through the 24th in Mendocino County. Come out and join us as we celebrate truth, love, and freedom together and create the new vision of the world we all want to be in. They're live and in effect. Bear was talking to Marcia Ann, who's coming. She's excited. She says she hasn't been to an event like this since the 70s. She's bringing 3 of her grandkids. She'll be holding it down on main stage Sunday for a deep, deep law discussion with Daniel and Phil Maneri from the Sacred Honor Educational Fellowship. And I just wanted to say, everybody that signed up for that workshop, that is happening this Friday. You should have, if you signed up, on that link, you should have received an email 2 days ago with that. And I think there'll be a follow-up email today. So that is actually tomorrow afternoon, evening, depending where you're at, or Saturday morning if you're on the other side of the world. That is happening tomorrow. So you still can, I believe, sign up for that. That link is in our show that we did with them, 4 weeks ago. So go check that out. That's going to be a really powerful workshop, Bear. We're excited to be affiliated with.
Nice. I'm looking forward to being there. Actually, first year, I tried last year, as everybody knows, but it didn't work out. And I don't think there's anything stopping it this year. So yeah, looking forward to seeing everybody in person.
Awesome. And yeah, we can't wait. Bear will be going, he will be going on main stage Saturday at 5 o'clock for his Q&A open discussion. It's going to be a blast. So definitely, I'm really looking forward to that, Bear. I look forward to introducing you to the audience and finally having Bear Lando at Music and Sky. It's about damn time. Okay, here we are today with Cathy O'Brien. And Cathy, it'd be great to get you out to Music and Sky one of these times. We were just talking about how we got to hang out in Nashville last year at CauseFest, which was a blast. And, you know, Music and Sky is like a full-on camp out in the wilderness with talks and workshops. It's very health and wellness focused. But it's an immersion into nature for 4 days of just truth, love, and freedom with talks, workshops, amazing music, dancing, breath work, swimming in a creek, all that good stuff happening this summer solstice. But we're decentralize and take it all over the planet. And we've got a lot of people in the Ozarks region, not too far from you, I believe, who would love to do it on that side of the United States. So we're looking to branch out to closer to you, and it'd be great to have you at one of these events in the future.
It would be delightful. That's exactly the kind of thing that seems to be springing up all over the nation. And I keep speaking at these preparedness events. And ultimately, they're doing is how to make the soil rich again, you know, after all the pharmaceuticals that have been piled on them, how to make it natural again, you know, and just seeing how people are reclaiming their lives and rejuvenating nature, rejuvenating their souls. It's happening everywhere. That sounds like a great event.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to invite you when when we do that. The times and events that we now bear witness have long been foretold. The prophets of truth understood the grander cycles of the Skyclock above, when the release of cosmic rays would forever change the consciousness of all life on Earth. Today, we have Cathy O'Brien to go deep into what she's been up to of late as we discuss. We're going to go all over the place today, but the forces of dark can no longer remain hidden. These revelations have come at a price to many. Some have incarnated with the destiny suited to the collective awakening, and the life experiences of Cathy O'Brien have been a light for those wishing to reclaim spirit through sovereignty. Cathy O'Brien was sold into the Project Monarch, one of the 149 known sub-projects of the CIA's MK Ultra experiments that began in 1953. These secret programs were initiated by governing jurisdictions in an effort to understand and utilize mind control to further another agenda. Being a victim of the elite's Monarch Program, as a slave, Cathy was exposed to many world leaders at the national and international levels. Through her rescue and healing process, she was able to reclaim the memories of what she witnessed while under mind control. Her story provides insight into how we've been controlled and how to reclaim personal and collective sovereignty. The era of social engineering has come to an end, and Cathy will share her recent healing work with children and survivors of the same trauma-based control that she herself endured. I titled this stream "Out of the Trance and Into Awakening," and I believe that is what we are currently undergoing. Berlando, take it away, my friend.
Thank you. Cathy, always delightful to see you. We exchange emails from time to time. You're always in my thoughts. You're one of the great lights to the world. So thank you for making time with us today. We have a lot of great things to talk about. You have a lot of information as far as the great work that you're involved with. And what I'd like to start out with is, you know, we were before this episode talking amongst each other and just saying, you know, some very special things are happening in the etheric medium, we'll say, around us that is, I believe, and I think you do as well, is quickening our consciousness. And all it takes is an open heart. And I think the biggest, you know, we tend to focus on all the darkness and the politics and the theater that's going on and getting into the weeds with that. But what we really have to understand is it's all about each one of us finding that compassion so that our hearts do open to receive that resonance that will change the world. And I wanted to start off today with this question to you, because one of the most difficult things I've had in my experience, I'm still working on it, come a ways with it, but a ways to go, and that's forgiveness. You know, I have not at all endured to the extent some of the suffering that you had to go through. I did have events where I was harmed and targeted, and it wasn't any fun. And with just the horrendous events that you experienced, how did you find it within yourself to find compassion and just leave all of that behind you and forgive the individuals that were responsible for that? And I think that's a good question for all of us, because that's the only thing that's going to bring us together and open us to this new wave of consciousness that's now not just on the horizon, but it's affecting us right now. So any thoughts? You could maybe start with that, and then we'll use that to segue into maybe ideas about what exactly is going on, and then what you're doing with it with your work. And thanks again for being here.
Wow, that's that's such a profound start. I have a joyful heart of gratitude, because what happened to me is not who I am. And when I healed and found who I am at the base energy of my being, I found that energy to be love. So I live the love I am. And I have found that that vibration, having been around this dark cabal, these perpetrators who are imposing mind control on humanity to create a slave society agenda, their greatest fear is the strength, spirit, and power of love, because that's a vibration they can't touch. They feed off of negativity, hatred, fear, and that's what they try to generate through the controlled media to create an atmosphere of that low vibration that they feed off. And I found that by living the love I am, that's so far out of their vibration that I'm not going to live in any fear or hatred or bitterness, because that's their vibration, and they're not going to get any more of that from me. So to me, it's kind of about living the love that I am, and that opens my heart completely to compassion and ability to see the miracles that are unfolding around us, and to be able to live life's purpose the way it was intended to live. It's a matter of understanding what is the vibrational aspects of what's going on in the world. In some ways, forgiveness to me would be to condone the abuse, and I can't condone the abuse, but I'm also not holding that bitterness. I think the hardest thing for me, and what I'm seeing as the most difficult thing for others too, is to forgive ourselves for complying, to forgive ourselves for the negative that we fell into caving in to this imposed negativity. When I was healing from my MK Ultra mind control experience, I didn't know how I could live with myself, knowing what I had been forced to participate in. And Mark told me then that I was not responsible for what I was forced to do under mind control. My abusers are responsible for that, and they need to be held accountable for their actions. Just like the people who imposed mind control masked as a virus on the global population, they need to be held accountable for those actions, because people everywhere are grieving over having complied, the guilt that they're feeling for having masked up their children and it limited oxygen to their brain necessary for critical analysis free thought, or worse, to get that jab, to go through with that, and they're seeing now that it's overwhelming to people. We need to forgive ourselves and hold the people who manipulated our minds with a repetitive dark narrative. They need to be held responsible for that. So the forgiveness that we need to feel starts within, because once we understand who we are and know our own truth, then we can open up to living the love we are, living our life's purpose. And as soon as we do that, we don't focus on the bitterness anymore. We don't focus on that dark negative energy. They can't have any more from any of us. And this collective conscious vibration is rising. And it's an amazing time to see. great awakening happening. So I'm so focused on that aspect, I guess, that I really don't even have time to be better.
Yeah, wonderful. And, you know, compassion is really nothing to do with passivity or allowance of harm to be done to ourselves, um, or compliance. It's really a dynamic energy. And I'm finding it easier myself to feel for a lot of the people that were in compliance, because a lot of them now are awakening and you know, really not in a pleasant way of understanding that there are things in their bodies that you know, they were never told what was really going on. Now, there was a lot of mean-spirited people during that time that made life difficult for all of us, and that's a hard thing that a lot of us, you know, had to just deal with. You know, how can we forgive these folks? On the other hand, now we're seeing the aftermath and the suffering, you know, this coming with awakening of people. And then, of course, a lot of people are doubling down because they don't want to admit, so they'll stay in denial, but that's a choice too. So I think they need our compassion and support better than anybody. So wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah,
That's
and
just
one
beautifully
I was
stated.
yeah, and the greatest form of compassion is educating them, right? Because we know in
Yes.
law, ignorance is never an excuse, right? The act of ignoring ignorance. And I think, yeah, Cathy, that's such a beautiful remark around learning to forgive ourselves, because when we forgive ourselves and act as an example, then they can forgive themselves and get past their ego for, you know, pushing masks on their children or jabbing themselves. And we know that we live in a mind generated reality, and just with switching your mindset, you can change your reality overnight. And part of that is forgiving yourself. So for those listening that are new to our channel, that are maybe had done things back in 2020, you've already, if you're here, you're listening, that means you are now on the path. And yeah, forgive yourself and move forward. And we're here to educate, and we're constantly learning from every one of our guests every week. And that's something that has been a trial for sure, is forgiving myself for all my past deeds. Um, but Cathy, so you know, we were talking before the show about going to these events and you know, educating folks, and you were saying you're seeing a rise in these events popping up everywhere. What is the current temperature in the United States, for instance, that you're seeing right now? With, you know, we have a lot of talk around the election coming up and all the nonsense with the economics, and of course we have war, you know, on the other side of the planet, and talk of impending World War III. What is the overall? How are you gauging all this year? Where do you see this going, or do you have any concerns? And just curious, kind of what you're feeling for this year, moving forward.
I'm excited. I really am excited overall because people are waking up. The Great Awakening has gained so much momentum that it's like a heightened vibration that's so high, all the darkness can't even cling to it anymore, and has fallen away. It's like the light is overcoming the dark, and people are reclaiming their freedom. I know from my experience in MK Ultra Mind Control that without free thought, there's no free will. With no free will, there's no soul expression. Without soul expression, we lose our moral compass. We lose our compassion. That we lose our ability to tap into the infinite strength of the human spirit and the power of love. Any level of mind manipulation, whether it's the kind of torturous, robotic MK Ultra mind control I experienced, or if it's information control with the children being indoctrinated in the school system, or the dark repetitive narrative coming through the controlled media, whatever it is that's limiting our free thought, limits our ability to have our soul expression and our compassion. So we need to reclaim that above all. And people everywhere are starting to realize that and reclaim their free thought. And with that free thought, they're able to have the compassion. They're able to reclaim their wisdom and think further, to realize that politics is not going to fix the problems for us. Politics has been doing it to us. You know, big government and big pharma, big tech, big cult to cult religion, all those things that keep us looking outside ourselves rather than within, is giving our power away. And people are wanting their power back. They're looking within and finding it, and they're reclaiming that power. That is absolutely the greatest fear of these perpetrators, is that we're going to remember our own power and stop giving it away to them. So as this spiritual awakening is happening, as this vibration keeps rising, as people are reclaiming their free thought and their freedom, I just feel like these other things are losing their dominance in our lives. And I think that, you know, whatever the path is going forward, people are not going to be looking to big government to fix the problems. Instead, they're going to be getting out in society, talking with each other, eye to eye, heart to heart, and soul to soul, and making that positive, necessary change themselves. That's what I'm seeing.
And wonderful. And one of the things that we entertain often on our episodes is the fact that this is not our government in the first place. It's not the government
Right.
by, of, and for the people. It's a corporation. And so, you know, if you think you're going to go put a suggestion in a government suggestion box and change the world, whether it's, you know, whatever candidate on either side, you're really kidding yourself. You've mentioned earlier on that, well, actually, you said the two most powerful words in our vocabulary a few times, which is I am. And I think it would really be well if more of us pondered what that means. I am is at once declaring our coordinate in universal consciousness and our ability to create unlimited at that coordinate. And also, I am is not qualified in any way. It's not limited. It takes us out of the linear time sequence of cause and event. It brings us into a multidimensional experience where our heart is able to receive resonance rather than just these little sequential time blips, you know, that keep us in a limited thinking state. So let's, if you would like to say a few words on what you think is happening at this grander cycle. As I mentioned in my write-up today, you know, this time has been foretold. And what these weren't soothsayers or people reading tea leaves, they were physicists that understood the power of resonance that comes from higher intelligence in those galactic bodies above us. And that those intelligences, every you know, number of cycles, they start beaming cosmic rays to us to awaken us when we're ready for that next level or that next octave of experience. So what's your take as far as what's going on that level?
It seems that on April 8th, something significant happened with the eclipse, and I don't understand it. It's just something I've observed and seen happen. It's like everybody, the Great Awakening accelerated that, something along the lines of a collective conscious vibration, because collective consciousness is rising as we regain our free thought, as we reclaim our consciousness, and that vibration has been rising, and people are thinking free. They're not giving into the fear that was generated coming up on something as phenomenal as the eclipse. Didn't take effect. I didn't see it happening to anybody, no matter who I talked to around the world. I talked to people in South Africa, New Zealand, and in Canada, just all over the world. And I didn't bring the subject up first. Everyone was saying it. Everyone else was observing it. So there's something there that has happened that increased on April 8th. And it may be that people didn't cave into the fear because the media was going all in to generate all kinds of fear, and people didn't buy into it. They went out and partied anyway, and did whatever they were going to do. And whatever that change was, I think, is a part of this great acceleration that's happening, raising the vibration of the planet right now.
And folks on the other side are also experiencing what they're putting out that has caused so much harm to people and the planet herself. So we really don't have to be concerned with taking them out so much because they've already done it to themselves. Mike, sorry, you were about to say something.
I was just going to make a comment on the day of the eclipse. It was interesting. There was a massive, a lot of people saw this. I was down in Texas at an event called Confluence that had the totality. It was a totality place, right? Where it was full eclipse. I don't know how you were, where you are, you had a pretty good view of it too, right? Like it was pretty close to you for full totality. But I noticed there was a ton of chemtrailing. Like where we were, we had an insanely thick cloud cover of chemtrailing over us to block it from being able to be seen. We were actually doing boiling vinegar and doing all sorts of different work to clear it. And at points we could break it up, and then it would just get thicker and thicker again. And that was just a sign to me that it seemed like the powers that shouldn't be were doing everything that they could using their weak technology, their materialistic technology, to try to block the impact of the eclipse. And what's funny is you don't need to see it. Like we didn't need to see it. Still got dark and everything, but it was a resonance. It was an energy. It was an energetic. And so I just bring this up because they are stuck in their materialism, right? And it's funny, they want to keep us sort of in this trance of believing in materialism, and because that's what keeps us out of our power. But no matter what, I agree with you, Cathy. There was a shift. We could all feel it. People were definitely celebrating. People were crying. The people were in all different sorts of expressions of it. But after it felt like a huge energy shift and a huge weight had been lifted off our shoulders at that event. It was really interesting.
Absolutely. I'm curious what you all may have noticed with the animals, because I heard from people everywhere saying it was a time when the lion laid down with the lamb or whatever. The peace of nature was extreme that day. And I was walking my chow, my companion, out in the yard, and it was full of nature. We had a fox in the yard. We had squirrels in the yard, birds in the yard. Everything was out there, and nothing was chasing each other. There was complete peace. It was like it was unlike anything I think I've ever experienced in that regard before. But something happened where even nature was reflecting this immense peace.
Yeah, a friend of ours, he was there, and he's a well-known doctor. I'm not going to say who he is because I don't know if you want me to share this from his perspective. But he decided to do what the natives in that region would do on an eclipse of this scope, which is go inside. And so he actually chose to go inside. And it's funny, there was a cat who was sort of the local cat that would hang out around where they were staying on the event space. And that cat ended up going inside with him. And actually, I think it went under the covers where he was and literally hid during the moment of the eclipse. And then, so he was there with him. And then the cat knew once it was over, got out from under the covers, stretched out, and then went to the door to ask to be let out. So there is something there in terms of nature understanding this on an energetic level that's really quite fascinating.
Yes, that's amazing. I was mentioning to Dr. Bear before we started how I planted a garden during the eclipse. It was just that time for planting, and it was ready. And I thought, what difference will that make for planting on an eclipse? And I've never had a garden flourish so much. But then again, nature seems to be in some kind of celebration mode anyway, and everything is growing and flourishing so well right now. But this is the most amazing garden I've ever had.
Yeah, and as I told you, we had a lot of rain, so the perennials, we have medicinal herbs and they're permanent fixtures, and we don't have to replant them every year. And things were a little bit slow up until the eclipse. Maybe it's because of the rain or whatever, I don't know. But I was, as I do, I walk around the farm and inspect, and I was a little concerned, like, come on, guys. And since the eclipse, things have just taken off tremendously, and it looks like the best year we've ever had as far as growth and just lushness and no bugs or slugs are affecting us. We also installed electroculture last year, but a little bit later into the growing season. So I'm sure that also played in as far as collecting whatever was going on in the atmosphere up, during the eclipse. But yeah, I agree. Our garden and farm has never looked better here. More fruit, abundance of everything. We also had the night of the eclipse, bears come visit us on our deck, but I think they might have just been after the food in our lockers, so I can't make much more out of that.
Nature shows us the way so much on how to flourish and rejuvenate, and nature is just is so phenomenal in many ways, and the animals lead us back to unconditional love, back to the purity of telepathic communication. It's beautiful to see that aspect, people reclaiming life the way it's intended to be lived and getting away from this constant barrage of fear mongering that's been imposed for so long. And it seemed like when they imposed it with everything they had on April 8th, and people said, no, I'm not giving into that this time. It seems to have made a huge shift. And I think nature's rejoicing.
Yeah. Indigenous folks were more in tune with that, of course, just because of the way they lived and, not exposed to the microwave frequencies and things that block those kind of impulses. But we take it very seriously here. Deb and I, most days, it's just her and I walking around the acreage here, and there's an abundance of wildlife. So the other day, there's some bats just circling around my head in the middle of the day for some reason. If we get a visitation with bear at night, we had a big cat, not the house cat variety, just 3 days ago that was, up at another part of our property that we saw. So it's uncanny as far as if you understand that animals are the embodiment of certain human attributes and emotions. And when they cross your path, there's a real purpose to it. And of course, when you understand also that there's nothing random in life, there's no coincidence, you tend to start noticing things and patterns when you live in nature. And animals definitely are always messaging us all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so important. I always encourage people when they're healing from any level of trauma, dealing with fears or anything else, that animals can really show us the way. Rescuing a dog, walking a dog, petting a dog, getting, something, just having that companion can be very powerful healing tool. I always am surrounded by animals, and I forever will be. They're peace to my soul.
And animals are not by nature, even predators, they're not vicious or predatory unless, of course, you're a lower life form and they're hungry. But they'll leave people alone all the time. We're surrounded by, some very big animals around here that could do some damage, but unless you have fear, they will absolutely not bother you.
Yeah, they pick up on the vibration.
Yeah.
It seems that people are starting to remember a little bit more. It may just be the circles that I've been speaking in, but in the past, in the early 90s, when I was speaking out, because I've been speaking out for over 35 years on mind control and healing from it. Back in the early 90s, people were more about taking up arms in the militias and, and getting the ammo and the food storage up and all like that. And all the preparedness conferences were focused more that direction. Whereas now preparedness means how to reclaim the soil from being receiving too many chemicals, the roundups and all that have damaged the soil so bad, how to rejuvenate it and bring it back, what's going to make the plants healthy again, how to grow organically, what we all can do to purify the water, how we can take care of our planet. And it's not about this nonsense environmental stuff where these self-appointed, self-anointed, unelected puppet masters fly to their secret meetings and chug their yachts to the secret meetings to tell us how to take care of the environment. That's just nonsense. And people are looking at that and saying, that's not the way. They can't, listening to them tell us what we can do and not do is not going to fix our planet. What's going to fix our planet is us reconnecting with it again and daring to care, just naturally caring about the planet. And so it's good to see people taking more responsibility for their own lives. And I love that word responsibility because it's an ability to respond. It's a freedom in itself. We make the choice how we're going to respond to situations, and responding in harmony with peace and love, the miracles that surround us all the time when we attune to that vibration is what more and more people are doing. And that is ultimately what's going to make all the difference in the world, because ultimately we're going through a spiritual evolution right now. And that great awakening is such an acceleration of that vibration.
And people have to understand this is not New Age speak, it's science. And
Yes.
we live in this technological world, so-called, but it's a lower materialistic, a materialized version of technology. We are the most advanced technology. Our biology, our consciousness that drives this biology in the first place is more advanced than anything. And everything you're describing, from Roundup, Mike was talking about chemtrails, those synthetic overlays are dead zones. But we don't need to focus on those dead zones and wring our hands and feel like, oh my God, what are we going to do? They're poisoning us. Because even if you had the lethal injection, in your own body, once we wake up to the reality of things, then we are the most powerful conduit for that true energy that comes through us. And you don't have to live on a farm or out in nature. You can be in the city somewhere and be a light. And what you're doing there as a conduit, you are bringing life into dead zones. And, that's our job, each and every one of us. So we are here to bring life back to the planet. And there's nothing that anybody can do to counter that. There's also technologically assisted ways. Wilhelm Reich, introduced us to orgone as another way to concentrate life force and energy. Biogeometry as a way to measure that life force, and also with specificity, bring it into zones that have been harmed synthetically. So we have the tools, and the most powerful tool we have is ourselves. So I agree with everything you're saying.
I'm glad you defined it that way too, because these preparedness events are focused on the exact scientific formulas for rejuvenating the planet, the soil, and our bodies. What we can do to counter these adverse influences that have been pushed on us. And my experience in MK Ultra Mind Control is that the formula is the same on everyone, whether it's of an individual, a nation, or the world. And of course, trauma is the basis of it, but the multi-generational effects is what Project Monarch was about, because it had been found through the Hitler-Himmler research that any knowledge-based, abuse-based, or belief system becomes autogenic in the brain after 3 generations. And in my case, from the multi-generational incest-based family I was born into, where my father's included ritual abuse, my mother's included being trafficked to my grandfather's Blue Masonic Lodge, you know, the whole multi-generational aspect had come into being. And it's what made me a target for MK Ultra mind control. But from all those generations, I would have been born more compliant already, whether I had been abused or not. But that wasn't the case. I was being abused, and of course, then I was systematically used in MK Ultra for 30 years, during which time I was subjected to the sleep, food, and water deprivation components that are definitely imposed on us all. People are working 9 to 5, 5 to 9, not getting enough sleep. It starves the brain. The food has been messed with. Our water has been messed with, and that all starves our brain. Those are important things for us to know, and why people are so focused now on rejuvenating the soil and the earth and getting the water pure again and getting their rest and everything like that. But my whole point in all this multi-generational aspect is I healed from MK Ultra mind control against all odds. I healed from within myself because we've all been blessed with that capacity. We have a resilient body, mind, and spirit, and the ability to tap into this phenomenal immune system that we all have. And more importantly, it's important to know soul is stronger than genetics. Consider that aspect. We have the healing capacity. When we tap in to our soul expression and that infinite power of love and strength of the human spirit, we can use that as a driver for healing. With that, we can overcome even the genetic manipulation or the DNA manipulation that has come through those imposed injections that some people subjected themselves to or caved into or complied with. We need to understand when we reclaim our free thought, free will, soul expression, we have the ability to tap in to this healing capacity we've been blessed with all along and access that, focus on that, and use that to propel us forward in light of living life the way it was intended to be lived.
And it might be useful to think that, we really don't have to counter anything, because in fact, all that we're speaking on, what, the boys downstairs have been doing, they've been trying to counter life, and there's no way they can succeed in that. So we're just basically living life and reminding ourselves that, we don't have to counter a darn thing. So all your experiences have, in fact, put you at a very powerful position to help others. And can you speak a little bit about your work with children and other folks that you've helped that have also been victims of abuse?
Oh my goodness, there's just so much need for the information out there, because for so long our information has been manipulated to keep us looking outside ourselves, to make us turn to a psychologist or psychiatrist that's going to give us some pharmaceuticals or tell us what to do, or worse, these survivors are going to hypnotists, and we don't need anyone meddling with our minds. We don't need outside influence telling us how to think. We need to be thinking free, and it's within us to reclaim that. So there's a lot to share with people, of reminding them what we've all been blessed with. I was so fortunate after 30 years of MK Ultra mind control that intelligence insider Mark Phillips, who was working the highest levels of intelligence mind sciences to preserve the sanctity of free thought, showed me how to heal. Mark did not deprogram me. I deprogrammed myself through using the tools he gave me that reminded me that we have within us this amazing ability to heal. So I took all those methods he taught me and put them in PTSD Time to Heal. And I'm sharing that everywhere with everyone so that they too can remember that it's within us to heal, that they can use some very simple, basic tools that Mark taught me that definitely include getting out in nature and eating nutritiously and getting plenty of rest and being with animals and all those wonderful things. But also to write out trauma, to write out fear, to write out whatever it is that's immobilizing us. And the very act of moving a pen activates the logic, critical analysis part of our brain. And so it takes this emotionally incomprehensible fear and trauma, shifts it over to logic when we move a pen. Typing does not do the same thing. This is pen and paper. So when we move that pen, it shifts it over to that logic, puts it out on paper where we consciously see it, and all of a sudden we're healing on all levels at once. We're opening neuron pathways in the brain. Any level of mind control, any level of mind manipulation or indoctrination shuts down neuron pathways in the brain. We need to open them. So moving the pen, opening those neuron pathways, and we're healing and able to reclaim our free thought with that one simple trick, that one simple method. So I'm sharing that everywhere. I'm sharing it with the people who are meeting, even groups like Moms for America who are out there wanting to know how they can protect their children from the indoctrination. Let's put writing by hand back in the school system. That alone will stop the indoctrination. It will help our children know how to think again. Right now, they're being bombarded with what to think. They need to know how to think. The people who have been abused, who only think that that abuse is all there is in the world and they're so bogged down by it. When they write that out and then add a solution. Mark taught me that from the beginning. He said, voice no negatives without a solution. So I had to think in terms of a solution when I only knew negativity. I only knew how to follow orders, but I had to think of a solution. Well, that got my brain firing in new ways again, opened up more neuron pathways, and gave me more capacity to think free, to rise above that pit of negativity, to rise above the storm and get a clear path forward. And that's within us all to be able to reclaim that with just some simple brain exercises and realizations that we have all the ability to heal from within. We have the ability to take our own choice, to make our own choices and to make that responsibility our choice on how we respond to what's happening in life around us. And we can rise above all that is being imposed, because what happens to us in life is not who we are. Who we are is within us, and it's within us to reclaim that anytime. So as I'm speaking out on behalf, giving voice to these children and healing encouragement to survivors, hope to humanity, I'm reminding people that it's within us to heal. And I'm reminding everyone that no matter what happens to these children, they can reclaim their innocence, because that's within us all. We all have to reclaim that innocence. We all have to reclaim the purity of who we are and remember who we are and why we're here at this pivotal moment in humanity's history. To be able to grasp all that and live that is really the innocence of a child. When we see what the innocence a child is born with, they have like their birth knowledge. They have that wisdom and that connection, that purity that we all need to reclaim. They have that when they're born. They have their telepathic communication. And then life starts getting in the way where this is structured for this and that, and, and takes them further and further from it. It took us all further and further from it. We can all go back and reclaim that birthright, reclaim that innocence, that purity, that love, pure love that we all are on the inside. So this is the message that I'm sharing on a global scale. This is the one I'm sharing when I go speak eye to eye, heart to heart, soul to soul in various communities around the nation, to speak out and remind people that they can use this information to remind the children. So the word is spreading. It's the way truth goes. Once truth is known and remembered, it spreads rapidly. And I'm so thrilled to be a part of the solution, to be part of this great awakening right now, and to be focused on the healing aspect instead of having to talk about the dark aspect that people are pretty much onto these days.
And one of the great examples of how evil always backfires is the pandemic created a whole new wave of homeschoolers. So the indoctrination camps were largely closed down, and people just said, no, I don't want my kids there anymore, or else they couldn't send their kids there because they were shut down. So everything will eventually work in our favor. Writing is more powerful than people give it credit, I think. There's an interesting exercise we do in biogeometry circles, and we have devices that use geometry in order to measure resonance, and it's a very accurate type of thing once you train yourself. And so one of the things we measure is life energy. They call it BG3. It can also just be called prana, or all the traditional words. So the golden mean energy that creates in nature. But you can measure a line on a piece of paper and you get no reading at all. There's no mana, there's no life force there. Now, as soon as you put pen to paper and write something, then right just before you start writing, you start getting a reading. And so it measures actually the intent before it goes into the written word. And then you come to the end of the writing and there's a little gap again, and all of a sudden it stops and there's nothing there again. So if you're putting something to paper, which is maybe something you have to get off your chest, your life force is actually going into that intention and that act and bringing, again, life force into whatever you're writing about. If it's something that was an unpleasant experience, it's going to bring light into that experience. If it's something that's joyful, it's just going to, accelerate or expand that light that you're writing about. So, writing is something I agree that we all need to get back to and get off the keyboards.
Yes. And if people are writing out their grief too, they're writing if they've lost a loved one, they're writing letters that they wish they had, words they wish they had said. And it's helping people to cope in these more difficult times. I'm very fascinated by what you said about that measurement, because when I was under MK Ultra Mind Control, one of the ways I was used by the CIA was as a handwriting analyst. And there's a science to graphology, what certain strokes indicate. There's ways of determining people's health. There might be a little tick in the writing that shows that the heart is not functioning exactly the way that it needs to. So there's so much that's reflected in our handwriting. And I had learned from the vastness of what I learned in graphology, that if you see that tick and know that it's your heart, you can actually smooth it out and go back inward and actually regulate your heartbeat by smoothing out handwriting. So handwriting's got some very, very, very significant reflections of who we are. And also a reflection back where we can actually improve our clarity of thinking by improving that aspect of our writing, by improving our health, by improving that aspect of writing. So there's that this measurement that you're talking about, that it can measure before it's even on the paper. It makes so much sense to me based on what I know. Yeah, we need to put these keyboards aside, and especially, you know, the little cell phone thumb things, and you know, and get out that pen and paper again. And yeah, that's wonderful.
That's amazing. There, you know, every organ and tissue in our body has what we call biosignature, and it's a geometric shape, an unbroken line, and it approximates the energy as it flows through, say, the heart or any other organ. So if you take that biosignature, which have all been worked out, and say you have an issue in that particular organ, when you trace it over and over with your hand, then it actually improves the function of that organ. So it just shows you how when we, with the intent and using form and using our hands, which have more connections with our cerebral cortex than any other part of our body, you know, real magic starts to happen.
It does. We have so much capacity. And I had learned that through my mind control experience, that the level of programming that I experienced, that the effects that it had, like there's an ability for programming military special forces, for example, to take a bullet and keep on going to actually stop the blood flow. And it occurred to me, you know, once in my healing process and knowing the ins and outs of my own brain and everything, if that could be manipulated from the outside by these puppet masters, these dark, low vibration perpetrators, imagine what we can do from within ourselves with that infinite power of love, that source, that energy source that is. We have so much capacity for healing, with the realization that we're capable of that. We've been blessed with that ability all along. It always fascinates me when people will like pray for a healing and not listen that it's already there. It's already given. It's within, and to receive that, you know, and celebrate that. The realization of aspect of our whole mind, brain, body function is such a celebration of life to me. You know, people wonder why I smile as much as I do after what I've been through, and it's because I know this, and it's so exciting what we've been blessed. We have so much ability within, and it's beautiful to hear how you go about accessing these phenomenal abilities that we have. That's amazing.
You know, you have to chuckle because, again, a lot of this I've just learned through my work over a lot of years. We all have that electronic body that actually animates our body, or what we think of as our physical body. We can't get up and walk without it. We can't have a thought without it. That's why somebody very famous long ago said, without the Father, I am nothing. So that higher electronic body is responsible for everything. And of course, that's what we're declaring when we say, I am. So if we pray or decree or whatever you want to call it, if you consider that that very thought, that prayer was put in our consciousness by that electronic body, which is the very thing that precipitates everything on the instant. And then we kind of sit here with our doubts and fears and wonder if our prayers are heard. Well, where do you think they came from? So it's kind of a funny situation we find ourselves in.
Yeah, it is. People will ask me, you know, because people speak through the semantics of their beliefs and everything, and then they ask me, you know, well, you must pray a lot. you know, and it's like, well, my life is a prayer. Somewhere in my experience, it's like no matter what my body was going through, my spirit was always in a safe, loving space. And that safe, loving space, I think, is what people access when they meditate or pray or whatever it is their wording for that access is. And since it's something that I had experienced to the degree that I have, I keep that wide open. I never shut that down. That is a constant flow. And it's a beautiful way to be able to live life, because once we do that, we're in harmony with the intuitions and the miracles and this phenomenal aspect of life, this higher dimension of living that doesn't require the slower pace of going through those motions, but rather just already arriving there, accepting it and living it constantly all the time. It's a beautiful celebration.
Sure is. Well, now we're just waiting for that day when our men in uniform, you know, in police forces and army and, you know, military, you name it, stop doing their job. Because once those gatekeepers put down their arms, it's game over. And I think we're probably getting closer to that than we realize, because these are the folks that live in our own neighborhoods. They're just regular people. They have kids in the same schools where everybody else's kids are, and, you know, shop at the same grocery stores. And I think, you know, it's kind of spreading that maybe it's not that nice of a thing to curtail, you know, people's freedoms in any way, or be revenue collectors on behalf of the beast, because you know, the worm is turning, and it may not be a favorable place to be once people wake up that they have no authority in the first place.
Yes, I'm seeing more and more that in the children, the need of the children is showing the way, because there's this what's being done to our children, this pedophile agenda that's being pushed as a mind control agenda. It was found there's no trauma more horrific on the human mind than sexual abuse of a child prior to age 5 while the brain is still forming. And that makes them highly suggestible and easily led. And this handful of puppet masters, this dark cabal, this dark negative energy force is wanting us compliant, and they're targeting the children. We're seeing how our children have been targeted now. Our children need to be protected. They need it now. They need to know that we're on to the reality that our system has been corrupted for a long, long time. And that's one aspect I've been speaking out on too, is that when we consider one head of the FBI, one appointment, one person, if he's part of this cabal, which is this one appointment, all of a sudden has authority over all the FBI agents who are doing exactly what they're told and marching to their orders. And then those FBI agents have authority over all local law enforcement. They can come in on any case and take it over for so-called reasons of national security or whatever other reason they want to. So these children who have been targeted and trafficked, these children who have been sexually exploited and used in these perverse blackmail operations and everything else, they end up being thrust into a corrupted child protective services system. This so-called child protective services is overseen by the FBI, because again, the FBI is part of that. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children was established in the FBI building as a catch-net operation for human trafficking. All of a sudden, man, we're seeing one person, one corrupt member of the cabal at the very top of the FBI has all this influence over what's being done to the children. Our children do not have time for us to clean up the system. It's too corrupted. It's too much of a mess. When you say, the authority needs to, we don't need them telling us how to live our lives and taking away our freedom. We don't need a military fighting in wars that are already so archaic and always for reasons other than what we're told they're about. All of that, it needs to go. The whole structure of the system doesn't apply anymore. As people are waking up, that's what so many of these events that I'm seeing cropping up everywhere are focused on. Is like, okay, the children do not have time for us to clean up this old structure. We need to restructure over here and deal with this eye to eye, heart to heart, soul to soul. Get involved, get out in our communities, and be hands on. Mind and hearts open to making the positive difference. Talk about be the change you want to see in the world. That's what people are having to become now. We have to become that change because the children are counting on us to do it now. The children are so precious, and they need us. They need us to wake up, and people are realizing that, and they're doing it. It's with the homeschooling. It's on every level. People are taking the action. We have to, because authority is too corrupted, and it's too easily corrupted just by the very structure of it. And it's time we stop following these self-appointed, self-anointed leaders that we didn't elect, and to follow their criminal, corrupt structure that has brought us to this point of realizing we need to take back our own power. We need to gather our strength of spirit and the infinite power of love and start making a difference now, for the children's sake and for the sake of Mother Nature and the beauty of this planet.
Yeah.
It's also time for the men folk to stand up. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen the mama warriors really stand up during the 2020 COVIDian cult experiment, and there wasn't as many men, that's for sure. But we're starting to see the masculine rise. I was going to say one thing, though. Obviously, we see how this is all institutionalized and commercialized. They require that. So we see it in the school system, where now they're pushing it really young out of kindergarten, sex ed and trans stuff, and, the gender, whole woke nonsense. But you are seeing what's wonderful is you are seeing, as Bear was saying, a massive people pulling their kids out of those institutions. And one thing that we can do, everybody can do listening right now to opt out, is stop using your money in anything that's related. It's all related. Like, all of the big industry is all interconnected. So anytime you go to Walmart, anytime you use a big bank, anytime that you use the power of the pen, which is the pen being writing a check, or the fiat dollars, which are all made by a stroke of pen, be it a keyboard stroke now, but that is the power we have. The power of purse is so important. So making those right decisions on how you spend your money, because that's literally funding the cabal every time that you buy something on Amazon. And I am guilty of it. Still, it's all about compromising, but still, there's so much power in every single little decision we make every day to stop funding them. And I think that is something that we can all take more power in every day in terms of how we choose to spend our money. And by growing our own food, doing our own, pulling our kids out of the schools, supporting local businesses that are freedom lovers, going to Music and Sky instead of going to Disneyland, opting out of Netflix, those kind of things, paying money towards really cool YouTube channels, or, networks like David Icke's network, Iconic, that are trying to bring truth and freedom, out to the world. So important, right, Cathy?
It is. And it's people are realizing that more and more. And I'm so encouraged by it. I waited a lifetime for people to wake up and realize this criminal cabal that's been in power for so long, and start making the positive necessary difference. And I remind people all the time that what we're seeing these days isn't new. What's new is that we're seeing it. And awareness is the first step towards positive necessary change. And that necessary change is finally happening. I'm so happy to see it. I'm thrilled that people are catching on to the pedophile agenda, which took the next leap in the transgender movement, because that is also a depopulation agenda. So we got a mind control agenda combined with a depopulation agenda. It stops human procreation. It's what's being done to take people further and further away from their own power. Dr. Bear, you mentioned the masculinity issue, and that masculinity was deliberately under social attack for so long, in addition to the hormonal alteration in foods and everything else to cause that. I think the strength that men have is something that they'll find again when they look back inside, undo all that social engineering, and live their life's purpose the way it was intended. But we all need to do that. We all need to look within and reclaim our power and remember who we are and why we're here. Male, female, no matter how old we're, all of that doesn't matter. When we go within, gather that strength of spirit, because it's right at that level that we all unite. United, we win. United, we all will be able to be effective in reclaiming our personal sovereignty.
And of course, that's why divide and conquer is their major tactics. And what I grew up in the 50s, and I don't ever remember seeing an obese boy. We were all kind of wiry and muscular and running around outside. And the transformation of little boy bodies is tremendous. I can't believe what I see these days. A lot of them have, excuse the language, we used to call them bitch tits, but they just, I mean, it's male bodies have been estrogenized, and you can really see along with it comes a change in attitude, very passive, very afraid.
And I heard an interesting statistic on the economy right now, and they were trying to attribute it to, and it does relate to the collapsing economy, but like all the fast food chains are like their profits are way down this year, as well as like Red Lobster's going bankrupt, I think, and these big, some of these big chains. And, I think a lot of that is just parents finally waking up that food is poison. Also due to inflation and stuff, it's getting expensive to go to those places, right? Like I think McDonald's now as an average is like $8, $9, $10 for a meal there. I don't know, I haven't been in years, but that being said, that is a really cool trend actually to see these fast food chains, like a lot of the PepsiCo stuff, like Pizza Hut's way down. Nobody wants to eat that crap anymore. Right. I think, and that will be for me, the sign that the revolution in the United States is really coming, when all those start closing down and everybody's tending to be going to more of these like kind of hip little mom and pop eateries. I know around here, that is way more the trend now, because they realize food's important and like supporting local business. You're doing so many things by going and supporting a local business like that. You're getting more away from the GMOs and the estrogenic food, big ag stuff. You're supporting local commerce. You're using ideally cash. You're doing so many things to help stop the powerful centralized forces from continuing this demonic, agenda.
And stop drinking water out of these little plastic bottles. People just all day long have a glass of water and then throw the plastic away. They're getting estrogenized while they're drinking it from the plastic. And then all that plastic ends up, as a floating island out in the Pacific Ocean somewhere that's bigger than a lot of continents are right now. We just can't contribute to that anymore.
Yeah, Music in Sky, for instance, everybody brings their water container, right? And we've got Rainwater coming. They are a freedom-loving outfit, family-run, that have an amazing well water that's magnesium rich. They come and they fill up all the drinking water there for the weekend. So we're all drinking magnesium rich, amazing mineral water that is balanced with love. That's the other thing I was thinking of earlier, Cathy. You're talking about epigenetics and DNA, and we've really gone full circle on that here on this channel because we're kind of an alternative science and health channel. And there's a lot of questions on what the actual truth is around even what DNA is. And that being said, I think it comes down to the resonance and memory of water, right? And water has as a direct memory source for us generationally. I believe we resonate through each other's waters. And it's interesting that people are waking up to that and getting in tune with their water source, as Bear was saying. And, you know, whether that be a well on your land, or if we're lucky enough to have an amazing river that comes through us from the mountains and is bringing that memory of what it means to be truly human on this plane of existence tied in with nature. So drinking natural, alive water is so important. And I just bring this up too, because we touched on this a little bit on the last time you're with us, but you know, obviously you incarnated, and I don't know what your spiritual beliefs are around reincarnation and multiple lives and all that, but you did come, I believe you came in to this experience for a reason, that you had the power in the end to reverse all of the evil that, you know, that they were done to your physicality, to your psyche, and come out in a way to educate us about that agenda, so that future generations won't be victim to it. And I believe Mark, too, was here to help you assist that. And I bring this up because I believe the water that connects us all is important, and that we are connected. We are all one in the end, of course, and we all have to serve a role to help each other. The individualism of America is important, but it must be balanced too in this idea, right? That we are all connected and we are here to help each other, the kids, each other. And if you didn't have Mark, you wouldn't be here. And if we didn't have you, we wouldn't be here right now talking about this. So it's just really, I think, fascinating to see how we all interconnect and how we all are here to help each other. I just wanted to say that.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful. And yes, you know, it's such an important time for people to know their own truth and to be able to speak their truth. It's like we all have a piece of the puzzle to bring to the table. And when we bring it to the table, the big picture becomes so clear. It comes into focus. Everybody can't bring the same piece to the puzzle. And that's what the same piece of the puzzle to the table. And that's what this slave society, social engineering is doing, is getting everyone to think in one way and everybody be the same and do, you know, male, female, whatever, everybody. No, that's not how it's intended to be. We need the full picture. We need everyone to do their part in living their purpose and shining that light and bringing that piece of the puzzle into focus. It's amazing to me to see how many people are uniting, because again, you know, to me, when we're in that space of our spiritual aspect of who we are, that infinite strength, human spirit, and power of love, we all naturally unite there. We always have, we always will. And that's the way we overcome this nonsense, division, negativity, and imposed manipulation, is to unite on that beautiful level. And that takes a collective consciousness. It's taken this higher vibration, and we're there. It's our time to shine.
Yeah, we are. Cathy, in the time remaining here, could you share, you have a couple links, or three, I believe, a new website, I believe. So could you tell people where to find your work, and tell us a little bit about what they might find there?
Yes, I've got my my books and my blogs and podcasts and everything on my website at Trance trance-formation.com, TRANCE hyphen formation.com. My books are there. I've done all my books. I read all my books myself on Audible, so that it secures the integrity of the information. Reading it myself, people know that is the facts. So all my books are on Audible. Access denied for reasons of national security. Of course, my 1995 testimony for Congress, Transformation of America, and PTSD, Time to Heal. Those are the healing methods Mark taught me, and they're secured on my website with a link there, so everybody can have that information and start applying it now, when they need it the most. They can also see the movie that was released in 2022, Trance, the Cathy O'Brien story on mind control, human slavery, and healing the nation. It's a powerful, powerful movie. It's at trance.movie. And people can also find me on my new locals page, which is transformationofamerica.locals.com.
And that's an online
Mike.
community platform, right? So people can join there and discuss with each other and meet up in person and all that, which is like what we're seeing erupt out of this awakening, is all of these communities emerging online and in real life. I think that's really the balance, right? You come together online to initially engage and meet each other, and then once you feel that resonance, meeting in person in the real life is so crucial.
Yes.
And so that is your online platform, guys. That is for Cathy. It's her their new site, and it's at locals.com. So transformationofamerica.locals.com. It's in the show notes below. You can join Cathy's community. How's that been going for you, Cathy?
Extremely well. It's where I can also, I'm going to be speaking next, and the people who are in that community, you come out to the events, and word is spreading that way, and it's just another way for people to unite and ultimately engage eye to eye, heart to heart, and soul to soul. And the way it counts most, getting out in our communities and making that positive, necessary change.
And I'm sure that also serves as a support forum for those who are waking up out of their trance states, right? Whether they be in some sort of program or unfortunately nested within some sort of, ritualistic family paradigm or something. Are you seeing that more and more of those types of people who have unfortunately gone through that, waking up and joining your community or reaching out to you?
Yes, it's I hear from so many survivors every single day who just want one more little piece of information that applies to them in a most positive way, or maybe even just to know that somebody hears, and understands. That can make all the difference sometimes for people. So I'm reachable to everyone through that and through my website.
That's beautiful. What an amazing service you're providing there, Cathy. Any final remarks or points or anything to say, but as we close this one out today?
This has been absolutely phenomenal as usual. I love talking with you, and above all, Dr. Bear, you amaze me. You're so wise, you're so sweet and kind, and such a wealth of information. It's always fun talking with you, because it seems like the most meaningful, soulful, heartfelt things that I could even begin to express, you come at from this other angle and just magnify. It's a beautiful experience, always getting an opportunity to talk with you. And it's good to know that people are finally turning to this kind of truth, instead of, going to mainstream media. People are shutting their TVs and looking for truth. And I think they're finding it in high vibration opportunities like this. I really appreciate this opportunity to bring truth to light here and speak out with you all. It's always fun.
Thank you, Cathy. And I feel truly blessed that our paths have crossed. You know, when I read your book long ago, you know, it was life-changing for me, just opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I never dreamt that our paths would cross someday and we'd become friends. So I look forward to the day when I can give you a big hug in person.
Me too. That's wonderful.
And actually, in 2 weeks, we'll have Rachel Vaughn on the show. I believe you may know her. She's
Yes.
yes, she's also a survivor, and she has awakened and is doing wonderful work with the ley lines. So we're going to do an awesome alpha cast going into the science and the power of re-engaging with the ley lines across the realm, and she's got some interesting questions for you, Bear, in terms of measuring things, which will be good going into radiesthesia and you know what you know about biogeometry. So that's going to be a fantastic talk. And she wanted to say, say hi to you, Cathy. So amazing.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's beautiful seeing so many survivors reclaiming their own truth and their own inner peace and being able to share and you know, like I said, bring their piece of the puzzle to the table, because it's all these differences, all these different pieces that brings the big picture into view, and it's such a beautiful time to be a part of that when so many are coming forward with
Max
truth.
Lowen is another one who I got to meet at Anarchapulco. I don't know if
yes.
And
yes. Oh, your dear friend. Yeah.
Yeah, we shared a flight home because she actually lives quite close to us here in Southern Oregon. So we got to hang out and have some really wonderful conversations. And she's another one who's just such a powerful soul, right? It's like when you go through the fire and come out the other side, better watch out. You know, the evil ones are definitely going back into the shadows because the light is so powerful, right?
Sure.
It's just, you turn the switch on and the critters have to run to the corners, right? The light just overcomes the darkness like that. And you can see it with these powerful women that are coming out and in more and more men as well. So thanks so much, Cathy. Everybody, you can get all of her links in the show notes below. Go support her work, join her community. Definitely, if you haven't ever listened to or read Transformation of America, it will blow your mind. It's a classic. Do you have anything else on the horizon that we should know about, Cathy, as we sign off here?
I'll be speaking out more and more and continue my travels in that regard. And I've got some wonderful things on the horizon that I'm looking forward to sharing. And again, you know, my locals community is a good place for that information. So
awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining us in the chat today. It was wonderful as always. Thanks for all the love to Cathy. We can feel it through the ethers here for sure, through my Ethernet. And remember to get outside, go plant something, especially right now. Now's the time if you're in northern North America. Go plant something, go for a hike, go hug a tree. Touch back in with nature. Nature is running on the program of life that will always help reset, right? To how we're supposed to be. The Cretans out there, those that come from below, or what do you call them, Bear? The boys from downstairs.
Boys from downstairs.
The boys from downstairs. They cannot. They have lost that light of intelligence, that spark that runs nature, and so they cannot control it. They try to with their synthetic overlays and their pathetic technologies, but nature is the true reminder, right? And that's why I end every show with this. You know, take your shoes off, go ground in nature. It's amazing how quickly that will reset things for you. So love you guys. We'll see you next week. I believe Aaron Apke's coming on with us to talk about good old Jesus and the Nazarene and the Essenes. That'll be a great talk. Okay,
fun.
guys. Have a great weekend. We love you, and we'll see you at Music in Sky. We only have 3 or 4 days left of Tier 2 tickets, so grab them now before the price goes up. Okay. Love you. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.